Welcome to Bebas channel's English section. I'm Imtiaz Patel, Varediawala, and you're watching the program called Hello, Can You Hear Me? It's about political affairs and politics in the UK. Bebas brought to you by Community Media Centre UK Bolton, and as name suggests, that it is the channel for communication, it is the channel for conversation, and it is the channel of interaction for the community and for each other. Bebas belongs to all of us, ladies and gentlemen. It's about our voice, it's about our communication, and it's about our interaction with each other. Through Bebas, we have, and that is our motto, to create a platform where we invite guests from different background, and we would speak to them, we would talk to them, we would ask them questions which has been put forwarded to us by our viewers and listeners, and then we would listen to our guests, their opinion, their views. If you would like to have any feedback, or if you would like to submit any suggestions, comments, ideas, or would like to make a statement during the program, you can call us on our studio number, which is UK 01204 435 825. You can visit our website, which is www.britasianbuzz.com. You can also follow us or submit your comments on our social media site, which is on Facebook, Twitter, and WhatsApp. Today in our studio, as announced, we have Mr. Jeff Armstrong from UKIP, or UKIP, some people may call it that way, political party. And we will be asking him the same questions as we've been asking these questions over previous candidates, and hopefully before the election we are going to invite other candidates as well. So as I say, it's a forum for debate, discussions, and one thing again we would like to remind our viewers and listeners that the general elections and in some part local elections are approaching very, very quickly, and as voters we have certain questions in mind. This is an opportunity for us to elect what we call the right representative on behalf of you. The question is, what are we looking for in the candidate? What sort of qualities we look in the candidate? Who actually aspires us to represent us in the parliament or maybe in the council? Obviously, it has to be someone who is aware of the problems, who is aware of our concerns, and who provides us aspirations, or the person who can connect with him, herself, with the voters. It has to be someone, as I said, who can live up to our expectations and who believes in delivering his or her promises. At Bebas, our policy is, again, a reminder, is to remain absolutely neutral, and our task is to bring the candidate and the voters together to facilitate a dialogue between them. Whatever said by our guest, our channel, myself as a presenter, and all our team would not subscribe to that, but as I said, it's a platform where they express their views and opinions. This is the essence of our democracy, and this is the essence of the open society, and we expect various candidates to tell us what their program is about, what the agenda they have got in their mind, and how they are going to make our life better. That's the whole point. And we give the medium to our candidates, and we give them a space to tell us why our viewers and listeners think that they are the best candidate as far as this election is concerned. And then afterward, once you listen to the interview, once we have the question and answers, we leave the decision to the voters, to the viewers, to the listeners, that whichever they think they will be voting as far as their best candidate is concerned. So as I said, in the studio, we have Jeff Armstrong on behalf of UKIP or UKIP. We'll ask him which is the correct pronunciations as far as the party is concerned in a second. On behalf of Bebas, once again, very warm welcome. I'm Imtiaz Patel, Varediawala. Welcome on behalf of UK Community Media Centre and Bebas. And we would also like to welcome Jeff Armstrong on behalf of Bebas Community Channel, on behalf of our viewers and listeners. Welcome to our studio.
Thank you.
Now, we have these set questions. Would you like me to call you Mr. Jeff Armstrong, or just Jeff? Or
just Jeff will be fine.
Jeff would be comfortable for us. Okay, that's fine. Our viewers and listeners have submitted these questions, and we've been asking these questions as we say, a common and standard questions to all our previous candidates, and hopefully when we have other candidates and guests coming to the studio as well. So that's how we would like to continue with this interview. So first of all, our viewers and listeners would like to know, Jeff, about your background, your childhood, your education, your family upbringing, please.
Yeah. Well, I was born in Farnworth in Townley's Hospital in 1963, and I've lived all my life in Bolton. I got married at the age of 21 to Jennifer. We've been happily married since 1985. We have 4 children who've all grown up and left home, and 4 grandchildren. I've worked on the railway since 1980, started off in a very junior position and progressed through to quite a middle to senior management level. Most of my career on the railway, I've been working with people, managing staff, and my current employer at the moment is Heritage Railway on the North Yorkshire Moors Railway, which is a steam railway, where I manage around about 300 to 400 volunteers. Politically, I'm relatively new to politics. I got involved in politics 3 years ago, partly because I'm so disillusioned with the political party and classes at the moment. You've only got to watch TV interviews and radio shows, and politicians don't answer the questions. They rather criticise other politicians than actually promote their own policies. So my aim as a politician is not to criticise any other politician, but promote UKIP policies. If there is good policies with other parties, then I'm quite prepared to promote them as well.
I'll come back to that, Jeff, before we go into details. But let me just again remind, ladies and gentlemen, our viewers and listeners, that in our studio, Beaver Studio, we have Jeff Armstrong on behalf of UKIP, or UKIP Political Party, UK. We are in conversation with him about what programs and agendas he has got to offer as a candidate. And if you would like to submit your questions, any statements, your feedback, do so please by calling us on our studio number, which is UK 01204 435 825, or you can always submit your suggestions, questions, statements on our social media, Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp. And once again, welcome to our program called Hello, Can You Hear Me? It's about political affairs and politics in the UK. Jeff, when did your interest in politics begin? I know you just mentioned that 3 years ago you got involved, what I call it, directly into the politics. But have you had any interest in politics prior to this?
Yes, I've always listened to politics and read about politics. I believe that some of the great politicians we've had are people like Tony Benn and Dennis Skinner, Margaret Thatcher, John Major. So I've got quite a cross political background, and I tend to like politicians who actually can speak to you and who are quite prepared to tell you the truth. Tony Benn was a fantastic public speaker.
But did you develop that interest while you were young, while you were studying in the university? At what stage you started following or listening to these, as you mentioned, great leaders in your perspective?
I think I probably wasn't involved in politics upon leaving school at the age of 16, partly because of when I joined the railway, it was a closed shop, so you had to join the union, and the union was affiliated to the Labour Party. Although I don't agree with all their policies, I used to take an active role in union matters and represent people and listen to people. But actually, politically, really only these last 3 or 4 years.
Right, okay. And prior to you kind of started taking active role in politics, would you like to tell us about your contribution to community life?
Yeah, I mean, community life has been very difficult because I've been employed on the railway since 1980, and the railway is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So often I was putting very, very long hours in, doing on call to attend accidents and investigate accidents and suicides and deaths on the railway. But in regards to community, I've been a serving magistrate for many, many years now, which is a volunteer basis. So I act as a magistrate in adult court, in youth court, and also sit on appeals in Crown Court. So that's giving something back to community. I've also been involved with the North Yorkshire Moors Railway, although not in this community. The North Yorkshire Moors Railway does employ or take on a lot of volunteers, and volunteers from all ages, from 14. We've got young boys and girls volunteering at the age of 14, lighting steam engines, getting up at 4:30 in the morning, and right up to the other spectrum. We've got a guard who's 80, volunteering because they love the railway life.
Nice one. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching the program called Hello, Can You Hear Me? It's about political affairs and politics in the UK. My name is Imtiaz Patel Varediawala on behalf of Bebus channel. Once again, I would like to welcome you. And in our studio today, we have Jeff Armstrong. Jeff, would you clarify this? Is it UKIP or UKIP? Your party is known as?
It's UKIP.
UKIP, not UKIP. But I do hear UKIP as well on local radios
Right,
and
yeah.
on one or two programs. But UKIP,
UKIP
is right, yeah, UKIP party. So, I mean, my assessment might be wrong or right, I don't know, but it's just the perception that people are familiar with what we call the mainstream political party as we talk about Labour Party, Conservative Party, Liberal Democrats. But in this election, I think UKIP is now getting bigger exposure. So can you tell us more about your party?
The party's been going for around about 20 years now. But it's only recently that we're getting the media attention because people are now sitting up and listening to us. You know, we've got 2 elected councillors in Bolton, which is Diane Parkinson and Paul Richardson. We've got some good policies, mainly common sense policies. You know, the reason I joined UKIP is because of common sense policies. Some of the HS2, for instance, UKIP will scrap HS2. Now, you think from someone who works on the railway would actually be looking at promoting HS2, but HS2 will be the biggest white elephant that this country is likely to see. It's going to cost us in excess of £18 billion, and for every pound invested, it will return £1 in its lifetime. So it'll be a lifetime before it even starts making profit. And that £80 billion will be far better spent on other railway projects. For instance, the Northern Hub in Manchester. That's investing a lot less money, but for every pound invested, it will return £1. So there's some, UKIP has got some fantastic, pure common sense policies, which is why I joined UKIP.
Okay, that's great. Can you mention 3 most important issues? I always get this mixed up in terms of related. So can you mention 3 most important issues related to your constituency, please?
Well, the main issues at the moment is the NHS. You know, UKIP has some great policies on the NHS. We're going to give you 8,000 more GPs, 20,000 more nurses, and an additional 3,000 midwives. And we're promised to invest year on year for the next 5 years an additional £3 billion into the NHS. One of the policies that took me into UKIP was the fact about free car parking. I believe that every patient and visitor should have free car parking when going to any NHS hospital, and that's what we're going to do. Now that will cost this country around about £200 million a year, but we can budget for that because we can save money by coming out of the EU. So our manifesto is probably the only manifesto that at the back of the boot actually tells you what money we're going to spend and how we're going to pay for it. So free parking at hospitals is a must. And also, in regards to immigration, immigration is very important. But when I talk about immigration, I really want to talk about integration, because I feel that one of the things that this country needs to do is to integrate. And since 1997, we've had around about 9 million people come to this country, and in some ways we can't continue. We've got to take control of immigration, we've got to manage our borders, and we've got to have a fair system. The system of immigration is not fair in this country, because anyone from outside the EU must apply to come to this country. Anyone inside the EU has an automatic right. So we need to control immigration. A system very similar to Australia, where people will have a point system. So people that we need, people who can come to this country and contribute, people who are prepared to come and actually integrate with people and want to come to this country is the kind of people we want. But unfortunately, the only way we can control immigration is to come out of the EU, because as long as we're a member of the EU, we cannot control our borders because they have an open door policy throughout the EU. I've already mentioned HS2. That's another policy that's very important. But locally, we've got the line between Manchester and Bolton is being electrified, and we read on a daily basis how bad the service is from Bolton into Manchester. There's overcrowding, and they've promised us an extra 2 coaches. Now, that will not solve the problem. The more coaches you put on a train, because Bolton is the last major town before you get into Manchester. Those trains will be full of people. More people will get on at Wigan, at Southport, at Blackpool, at Preston, at Chorley, at Blackburn. And by the time they get to Bolton, they'll be full up. What I want is a designated rail service that starts at Bolton, so the trains are empty at Bolton. And that makes more sense than putting an extra 2 coaches on an early morning train. So a designated train service to run from Bolton into Manchester.
Right. You have partly answered my next question, which is how are you planning to resolve these issues? So I think you have highlighted a bit about immigration and the railway network, but you just touched upon NHS in terms of increasing or maybe recalculating the resources so that NHS can function the way your party would like to see, which is more attention towards the patient's care and the facilities. But where would those resources come from?
Well, so that in our manifesto, every penny that we spend is in the budget, is in our manifesto. So what we're going to spend, we'll show you where we're going to get that money from. But for instance, this country pays out £2 billion per year on health tourism. So people from anywhere outside the UK can come here, get the operations, get the drugs, and it's costing us £2 billion a year. In some ways, our NHS service has been a victim of its own success because we are probably the best health service in the world. What we want to see in UKIP is not an international health service, we want to see a national health service. And that saving there, £2 billion, will then pay for the extra doctors, nurses, and we're also looking at putting a GP in every A&E department. So when people go to A&E because they can't see a doctor during the day, they will be directed to a doctor within the A&E department.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Jeff Armstrong on behalf of UKIP party in the UK for the general election, and we have Jeff Armstrong in the studio. My name is Imtiaz Patel, Varediawala, and you're watching this program called Hello, Can You Hear Me? It's about political affairs and politics in the UK. If you would like to submit any questions, reservations, statements, or any feedback, you can always call us on our studio number, which is 01204 435 825. That's UK. You can visit our website, which is www.britishbuzz.com, or you can follow us on our social media site, which is on Facebook, Twitter, and WhatsApp. Jeff, my next question is, can you give our viewers and listeners 3 good reasons why they should consider voting for you and for your party?
The main reason is what we said in our manifesto we're going to deliver. So everything that we've said in the manifesto, if we get elected into government, we will deliver that. If we don't deliver that, one of the policies within UKIP is that you have the right to recall your Member of Parliament. I'm employed in the railway, you're employed in the NHS. If we don't do our job, we get sacked. And that's going to be exactly the same with Member of Parliaments. So if a Member of Parliament does not do what he said he's going to do, then the people of that town or city can recall their MP. The other thing is local referendums. We have big problems in Bolton where one community wants to build something and the other community doesn't, or someone wants to build a football ground and someone else doesn't. And that's decided by the councils. The councils take a vote on that, but what UKIP will say and do is that if there's something that the local community so strongly objects to, then we'll hold a referendum. And that really takes the power from the councillors to the people that matter, the local community. So if the community is happy with that development taking place, then it'll take place. If they're not, then it won't. And that's giving more power back to the people in the community. And obviously the other one is crime and punishment. We've got to start managing crime in this country. One of the policies is that anyone who's committed a crime in another country, like rape or murder, will not be allowed to come to this country. In the same way that if someone comes to this country and they then commit a crime, they will be given a sentence, and at the end of the sentence they will be deported. And they will not be released from custody until they're ready to be deported. We've seen a murder not so many months, about 12 months ago, where someone came from a different country. He was already a convicted murderer in that country and killed a young girl in this country. That person will not be allowed to come here. And I think that's what we need to do.
Okay. Now, out there in the community, there's a perception, and we can only, as a media, we can always only say that there's a perception as we were going through the election survey and just talking to people that we're inviting so and so. What would you like to ask? There's a perception out there in the community about UKIP parties. It frightens people. There's this tremendous amount of negativity attached to your party. Do you want to say something about it?
I think the problem has been in the past that whenever we've talked about immigration, people then automatically think that you're racist, and we're not. When we talk about immigration, we're doing it for the right reasons. We've got a country that if we don't start taking control of the amount of people coming in, we'll be full up. It's as simple as that. People have got to come to this country and they've got to contribute. And they can contribute financially, but they can also contribute by integration. UKIP, we've heard mentions of UKIP in connection with BNP and the EDL. But when I signed to be a Member of Parliament, or candidate, and a UKIP member, I had to sign a form to say that I have not been a member of the EDL or BNP, and no councillor will stand, or no UKIP candidate for Member of Parliament will stand, and they will not be allowed to be a member of UKIP if they have been a member of any other left-wing organisation like the EDL or BNP. And if anyone does join our party, and it comes out that they've been a member of BNP or the EDL, they will be expelled. No ifs, no buts, they will be expelled.
Oh, still, why your party is suffering from this negative image?
Personally, I don't know. I don't know why we are. Our policies are very much straightforward. We tell exactly people what we believe in. I cannot see anything in there that will give us reasons for people to think that. As I said at the beginning, a lot of political parties like throwing muck at each other, and I think that perhaps that's what's happened with UKIP. Because our main policy is to come out of the EU and control immigration. Immigration 5 or 6 years ago was a dirty word. We would not be having this conversation 5 or 6 years ago talking about immigration. Now we can. If UKIP has done anything, we've actually brought immigration to the front, and we now realise immigration is not a bad word. It's not a bad word.
Okay. I think the one or two sub-questions, because it would be interesting to inform our viewers and listeners in terms of where exactly they stand in terms of UKIP, and it would be nice to have that first-hand information from someone who belongs to that party. Europe is really now, every elections, even outside the election, it just keeps coming back on people's agendas, political agenda. And I believe that your party is not really in favor of us in kind of tune with the EU, and you want to pull out. And you just mentioned that immigration, is that the only principle you disagree? And if you want to pull out from EU as far as the Great Britain is concerned, then we have an opinion that it's a quite resourceful kind of union rather than your party suggesting other way around. What's your take on it?
No, it's not the only reason. It's the main reason that we cannot control our borders while we're a member of the EU. But when you look at the amount of new laws which have been passed on this country by the EU, and we're being dictated to by what we can do in the EU, risk assessments. You've got to have a risk assessment now if you want to boil a kettle in an office. You must risk assessment, and all this has come about because of the EU. And really, actually, it's just common sense, isn't it? At the end of the day, we may end up having to give prisoners the vote in this country. People who's had their liberty took off because they've committed a crime and put into custody. The EU may force us to allow them to vote in local and general elections. So there's quite a lot of details there. What's happening in the EU? People seem to think that if we come out of the EU, we'll not be able to trade with them. Well, what we'll be able to do is trade with the rest of the world. The Commonwealth, countries who we used to trade with in the past. We can have our own trade and our own policies on trade. We're not just attached to the EU. And we export a lot more than what we import. So you've only got to go outside and look at the number of Mercedes and Volkswagens on the road. We will still be importing that amount of cars, and they will still want to trade with us. What we'd be able to do is get a better deal. And I just point that, when we went into the EU, I think it's only people who's over the age of 57 actually was able to vote to join the common market. So everyone below the age of 57 is not voted on this particular policy. And we're not saying we want to come out of the EU, but we've got to do that by a referendum, so people will have the say at that time.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to Jeff Armstrong on behalf of UKIP Party, and you are in tune with Biba's channel. My name is Imtiaz Patel, Varediawala, and the program is called Hello, Can You Hear Me? It's about political affairs and politics in the UK. If you would like to submit any questions, any reservations, observations, statements, or any feedback, you can call us on our studio number, which is UK 01204 435 825. You can also visit our website, which is www.britishbuzz.com, or you can visit on us to our social media site, which is Facebook, Twitter, and WhatsApp. We are getting closer to our program, but I still have one or two questions to ask before Jeff Armstrong leaves the studio. Nowadays, young people are getting disconnected with a lot of things, whether it's social activities or you name it. But because we are talking about politics, they are also slightly disconnected, if not in a bigger way, from the politics. What is your program and what's your parties doing to reconnect our young people back into politics and to give them something so it inspires them for the institution to take part in it?
Yeah, I mean, UKIP has a young organisation where young people can join UKIP and they manage themselves. But what we need to do is encourage more people to come into politics. And I think when people from a young age, 18, 19, look at politicians, they're not looking at people who's worked for a living. They're not looking for people who's brought a family up on a living wage. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just a normal working man who's worked up. I've not gone to university. Unlike some people who go to university and they go straight into politics and they don't actually live in the real world, and that puts a lot of young people off. But I think there's things we can improve. I've said many times that this election will be won by the media, by what people see on the television and what they hear on the radio. But I think we can move it forward for youngsters. Why does someone need to go to a polling station to vote? Why can they not vote on their iPhone or on their iPad? That's the way we'll get youngsters into it. This programme will, because YouTube, sending it out onto YouTube, they will hopefully look at it and connect with the people who are standing in this area. So we need more media involvement, but we need to be fair media as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Last but not least, Jeff, we have talked to a large number of people in the community about the election. And from the viewpoint of view of the common man or a common woman in the street, he or she does not see much difference between various political parties nowadays. Whether it's Labour Party, whether it's Conservative Party, Liberal Democrat, you keep your own, or Green Party, so on and so forth. In what ways your party is different from other parties?
Well, our party is very different because it's a new party. We've not governed anyone else before. What I say to people, you give us a chance. If you're not happy with us, we'll be the first party that you can sack because you can recall your MPs. We're the first party in our manifesto that's actually published everything we're going to do and actually tell people how we're going to spend that money, and it's been verified. Give UKIP a chance. The main parties are too much like each other. That's why the main parties, Conservative and Liberals, go into coalition. There's not a lot between them. With UKIP, you're getting something totally new. Give us a chance and go online, really, just have a look at our policies, have a look at our 2015 manifesto, and you'll see a lot of it is common sense.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We were in conversation with Jeff Armstrong, UKIP, on behalf of, also on behalf of Biba's channel, on behalf of our team, our viewers and listeners. We would like to thank Jeff Armstrong for coming to our studio and sharing the information about UKIP Party and about what he as a candidate has got to offer to you. We will leave the decision entirely up to you now. You've been listening to many candidates and councillors who have visited our studio, and I'm sure that we have many more yet to come before the election and after the election as well. If they get elected, we will be scrutinizing them in a positive way in terms of whether they are keeping up with their promises and whether they are on track or not. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Imtiaz Patel Varediawala. On behalf of the Bus channel, I would like to thank you for listening and for watching this program. And once again, thank you to Jeff Armstrong for coming to our studio. I just like to say, would you like to say any final message to our viewers and listeners?
I suppose the only message I'd like to give at this point is please go online, have a look at our manifesto. You'll see it is common sense, and you'll see that everything that we say we're going to do, we can deliver.
Thank you very much. And once again, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Wherever you are, be happy, be healthy, and make other people happy as well. Thank you for watching.